Hey guys, we have had one hell of a week in the market, so I'm going to go and do a real quick recap of everything for you: the SPY, Bitcoin, the Nasdaq, SMH, the Dow Jones Transports, and if we have time, the Aussie, the DXY and the VIX as well. So I'll start with the transports. The transports are a leading market indicator of the health of the economy. It's looking sick, guys. It's looking sick. So this move this week came down to test the bottom of its Gaussian almost. And based on these rules of Elliott wave theory, I really don't think that this is the end at all. I've written some guidelines here for me, for you as well. ABC corrections, if it was one, it wouldn't have retraced to more than 0.618 or the fib line of this previous move up, and it has. It's breached that, like poetically breached it, which just eradicates that theory. It is now having to be treated as a 5-wave down impulse wave, which is bearish, a bear market. Wave 3 is what we're currently in, based on the fact that it looks like a measured move down here. I don't think that wave 3 is over. It doesn't have to be over. It could go lower over the coming weeks. But when you see a convincing break to the upside over a number of weeks, whether that's the Christmas rally or what, then you'll know that that was the end of wave 3. But that won't be the end. There's got to be a wave 5. So wave 4 is going to be impulsive. Wave 5 will be down. Where wave 5 ends will depend on the conclusive size of wave 3, because wave 3 tends to be the longest wave. So that could put wave 5 either just a little bit below wave 3, which would be nice. It would sort of straddle itself off these December 20, January 2021 highs, or it comes right back down to test this zone of very strong support here from 2018 all the way through 2020 before COVID dropped. Now, if you zoom all the way out on the macro scale, if we're coming back down, how much are we going to retrace maximum? I don't see it obviously going below the golden fib 618 of the impulsive move that we made after COVID. That's an enormous amount of retracement. And you could say that that would be a real ugly capitulation, but we won't be putting in new lows from COVID at least. But it would be quite a significant new low from the 2022 bear market, which would shock everyone. So, do I think that's going to play out? No, not necessarily, but I do think that now we are in a risk zone of either testing the bottom here of the 2022 bottom and not breaching it, or breaching it. Both things are possible. The SPY is looking okay in comparison. Again, I think that we're in a 5-wave down, but we have not breached any key supports of the last move upwards, so we can come all the way down to retest the bottom of the Gaussian and still be all right. Not that I necessarily think we will, but we have currently put in what might end up being the end of a wave 3. Again, we're going to expect at some point during the next few weeks an impulsive move, not impulsive, but a corrective move higher before another wave 5 down. There's a long zone of support here, such as the bottom of this Gaussian, the 200-week, this ascending trend line. I do strongly believe that we're not going to go lower than this. Bitcoin is looking fine, really is, but it does have to come back and retrace. You don't want to see it come back and re-enter this ascending triangle, which it broke out from. So look for it to hold above 28.6. If it does get in there, then we're in a bit of trouble, and we could come down to retest the 25.9, 26K zone again. And if that loses, then we're in big trouble. But everything's looking really healthy on Bitcoin, so I wouldn't be too worried. The Qs and the SMH can be looked at together, really. They are more or less running on the same chart. They're both broken convincingly weekly candle closes of their head and shoulders patterns, which means expecting a measured move down. I definitely think we're coming at least to test this median line of the Gaussian channel. There's a lot of zone of support in here. So again, I don't see us going any lower than this on the Qs. I really don't. Same thing with the SMH. I mean, when Nvidia and Apple report in November, it's going to be pretty key. Everyone's still expecting Nvidia to come back and close that gap, or at least some of that gap that it has on its chart. I'm not going to show you now, but actually, why not? I'll show you this enormous gap here, which you can't see on the weekly, but if you flick to the daily, you'll see it. See that big purple box? It has to come back and at least close some of that. There's no way you can leave such an enormous gap unfilled. Meta did it in the opposite direction, and I think Nvidia will too. The US dollar index DXY, I think, is best looked at on the monthly chart. And as you can see, we're in a very hugely macro downtrend. But, that does not mean that we haven't got higher we could go. It's really anyone's guess as to how high we go between this zone, though. There's a lot of areas where it could bounce off from. But I would not be surprised if we at least retest 110, if not come all the way up and tap this very huge macro sort of descending trend line again. So yeah, resistance zones are pinned from 107 to 109 to 110 to 114, 115, 118, 120. It could actually go to any of these guys. So we have not necessarily seen a top in the Aussie dollar, in the US dollar, and that means we haven't seen a bottom in the Aussie dollar. The RSI also says we should be going a little higher, maybe. So let's see where it goes. That said, I will say, it has reached the overbought phase, so it might head down. That might have been the top in October 2022. We might not be retesting it again, but yeah, let's see. And finally, the VIX. This is the volatility index. And you can see on the VIX, I look at this on the monthly for trends, and you can see that we're still trending down overall. So all these corrections to the S&P's 21-month EMA and all that is kind of normal, to be honest. Unless we breach all the way up here and tap the pi cycle line, I don't think that the economy is like fucked. It's okay, guys. Like, it will be okay. We have to be trending down until late in the decade, and then everything's shit's going to hit the fan. So we have time. This is a corrective, horrible phase, but it's at the end of the day market consolidation, and we will, if you look at the S&P 500, be moving higher eventually on the macro. Same thing on the Qs. Look at this beautiful line of bar patterns on the Qs. So all this correction will be over at some point, and then 2024, late 2024, 2025, all upside as I see it. And that's me over and out.